Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of Curious Creatures Drawing Workshop. So this week's theme has been sent in by Callum, who's 8 years old and lives in Adelaide, Australia. So he wants us to create a creature that is based on a hippo, a whale, a fish with one leg, 10 trillion eyes, a big nose, it lives near a tree, and it fights kangaroos. So I've pulled up a few references for us to have a look at. So we have our hippo in the top row. We have our whale in the middle row, and I've picked a humpback whale. So you're welcome to pick any kind of whale that you like. And for the fish, I've decided to go with a Siamese fighting fish for their beautiful colours and their gorgeous fins. So again, you can pick any type of fish that you like. So because we've got a very interesting habitat and special skills, so living near a tree and fighting a kangaroo, I'm thinking maybe we'll create a creature that lives in the root of a tree. So something like a mangrove or a red gum that has a root system inside the water. And maybe it fights kangaroos by spitting a jet of water or throwing rocks with its tail or something like that. We'll see how we go. So that's what I'm thinking for our storyline. So let's get going. So grab your pencil and we'll get started. Now, a hippo and a whale and a fish. So we're basing everything on an aquatic animal, whether it's a mammal or a fish. So probably going to go for more of a mammal, maybe sit in that whale space, particularly with the one leg. So let's start with a circle for the head. Now I'm thinking we're going to make this a reasonably large creature, given that both the hippo and a whale are very, very large creatures. So I'm thinking the body might stop there, and I'm going to curve the tail. So I'm going to draw this creature in a bit of a pose to start with, given that we're fighting kangaroos. So maybe the tail is going to come somewhere there. So I just angle him up a little bit. So if you're drawing on paper, you can just turn your paper. Now we have one leg. So as I said, I'm going to use that as the tail. So this is going to be our big tail here. But I will still probably have some fins, so some arms. So I will still include some of those. And I think we're going to put them in sort of a bit closer to the head up here. Now we need to flesh out the mass of the body. Now both whales and hippos have very big, large bodies, but hippos probably carry a little bit more weight, and I kind of love how they look a little bit. So maybe we're going to go for a slightly bigger character with maybe a few more sort of wrinkle bulges around, particularly around the neck and the head area. Now we need to include 10 trillion eyes and a big nose. So let's think about that. I think we might go more with, as I said, that hippo kind of a face, because they have a beautiful large snout already. So just going to include a bit of the muzzle there and give his face more of a round shape. Now, are we going to include ears? Probably not going to include normal ears. I'll probably include more of a small circle, which is more reminiscent of some of the whales and things like that. They don't have big ear flaps, what we normally think of as ears. They just have their little auditory holes there. And our eyes. Now, they've all got very similar sort of spaced eyes, so we're going to add that one about about there. Now our fins. Fins. So let's do a combination of maybe the whale and the Siamese fighting fish because I love the decoration of the Siamese fighting fish. So the structure of a whale's fin is probably really relevant here given the size of our character. So they have to be able to move all that body mass through the water. So let's give him some nice fins. And we'll just be able to see a little bit of the fin on the other side of the body like that. But maybe what we'll do is we'll also add in some decorations. So maybe we'll do that a bit later once we've got the last of the structure down. So probably from here we need to add in the tail. So we're just going to extend these lines out from what we've already started with and come down here to that point of the tail. And we want it to be a very, very strong tail. So again, we're going to maybe keep it sort of reminiscent of a whale tail. So something like that. So what I'm doing here is, so whale's tail and dolphin's tail, they have these great fins that kind of sit, kind of come out from the main structure of the tail. So they kind of sit a little bit in the middle of that last section of the tail. A bit like that. Alrighty. Now, what are we going to do? Okay, now we can start fleshing it out and having some fun. So that's our basic structure, and now we're going to experiment and add in some extra things. So, big nose. Well, fantastic. We're going to play with the wonderful muzzle of a hippo, which kind of comes down like this. And they have, we're going to give our creature these really big nostrils like that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And a mouse like that. Now, the eye. So at the moment I've only allocated one eye, and we have 10 trillion eyes to include. That's a lot of eyes. So I'm thinking, how are we going to manage 10 trillion eyes? Well, I think we're going to have to include some eye stalks. So maybe we'll have a dominant eye up here. And maybe another eye here. Now, I'm not going to draw 10 trillion eyes because that takes a lot of time, and I don't actually think we could actually fit 10 trillion eyes on our drawing. So I'm just going to do a lot of eyes. I'm going to go from that. So I'm going to draw some so that you can see that there are some sitting in front of the other and they're back and forth in space. So we're just going to do some layering like that. And I will include some eyes on the actual body as well. So we'll have a collection of eyes in different spots. And we'll just give it some little irises in there so that we know that they're looking. So it's probably not quite 10 trillion eyes, but we have lots of eyes. We'll go with lots of eyes. Wonderful. All right, so that's 10 trillion eyes. So what we need to do is now we can have some fun with fleshing out the rest of it. So as I said, we want to bring in some of that beautiful Siamese fish. So maybe what we'll do is we'll give him a back fin, which is more, this is definitely fish based. rather than mammal based. So we're just going to have a play with creating some of these beautiful fin designs. And I encourage everyone to go on and have a look and find some beautiful reference photos that you can look at and consider. So I've got mine up on a different screen, so the ones that I've already showed you. And obviously you see some of the beautiful colors obviously once you actually colored these in, or if you decided to take it into a color. And then maybe just at the end here, maybe I'll add some just a little bit here, almost as if it's an added decoration on top of the main structure of the fin. Almost like you've got ribbons coming off of the end of your fingers. Something like that. Yeah, cool. That's awesome. And then the tail. So we'll just add in a little bit more shape to our tail. And I think, again, I might do the same thing. I might extend some of these beautiful fin structures onto the end of that. And so, and the end of our tail, the solid part of our tail, might be a little bit more crinkled and wavy. So something like that maybe. And maybe I'm going to draw some sort of lines coming out. So we'll have sort of the solid tail and we'll have this nice, beautiful decorative element. And now whales, particularly humpback whales, have these beautiful lined structures under their mouth and into their belly, which is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to include some of those lines here, particularly coming into this belly space. These are beautiful, beautiful lines. And they have this lovely two-tone, so they're quite dark on top and they're white on the bottom. And this is a fantastic camouflage thing that quite a few ocean characters, aquatic creatures, feature. So I'm going to create sort of a pattern here, which is going to be the edging of my coloring. I'm actually going to take it all the way down to the tail. And I'm going to include some sort of splotches of colour. So that this would be, say, the darker colour from the top going down to the lighter bit of the bottom. So we're going to have this integration of colour. But I'm going to draw it like this with splotches. You could just merge the two together if you want. You don't have to do this at all. It's entirely up to you. But I'm going to include a little bit of that. And maybe some scales. Yeah, this is a nice little hybrid. So I'm not going to do too many. So I'm just going to do sort of an indication of some scales on the tail. And so I might have this interesting. Ooh. So on the tail and then all the way up the body, just in different groupings to show that there's something there. If you want to draw bigger scales or draw scales all the way up, you are, of course, more than welcome to. But I'm just going to give an idea. And yeah, something like that. Now, we live within the tree roots, so I'm actually going to make him a little bit smaller because I've drawn him quite big so that we can see a bit more. So we're going to live in the tree roots of, maybe it's a giant tree, maybe it's a very proud, wonderful tree, maybe it's something like this. So I'm thinking let's add in some background elements. So maybe the water is going to kind of come in our background to sort of here. And maybe our tail is coming out of the water like that. And what are we doing? We are fighting kangaroos. So we're going to splash. What are we going to do? Maybe we fight them by throwing water at them. So maybe we are going to have this big surge of water. Something like this. So just deleting my lines. Now I'm only doing this, guys, so that you can see the design of my water. Now you certainly do not need to erase your picture, and you can create this however you want. But I'm just going to create it like this so that you can see the water splashing around. And it's going to be like small ripples in the water. Maybe a bit of the water's breaking the bank at the back. And we're going to live near a tree. So I'm thinking we're going to have some beautiful tree roots. So maybe they're going to be mangrove roots, because mangroves have these beautiful root systems that come out that get fresh oxygen and air and things. So they're amazing trees. If you haven't had a look, I highly recommend going on to have a look. Just finding some great reference photos of these. Now, I'm not looking at a reference photo at the moment. I'm just creating some of this up just to give us some ideas. And then what I would do is I'd go get some reference photos later to extend this out. So showing that the water's kind of, maybe it's curving around. And so then maybe what we've got is maybe we have some land bank here. Now maybe this is going to be a giant tree. So this is a giant tree, so maybe it comes all the way back into space like this. So it kind of curves around. So maybe the only part that's got land is over here in this section. So just add in some more roots. Maybe to give an idea of scale, I know, sorry guys, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I might just put in some normal fish, just some little fish. These are my little fish hacks, my little lemon shape with a tail and an eye, to give an idea of how big our creature is, but also how big the tree is. Because at the moment, our creature maybe looks a bit small with this gigantic tree. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to add in some other things that give an idea of scale. So things like the fish and obviously the kangaroo itself, and maybe some other trees. So maybe we'll just have some reeds growing in the bank. Maybe there'll be other trees back here in the distance to go, oh, this is a big giant tree. This is a very tall tree. So these are just my quick tree sketchy hacks. And our kangaroo, of course, we need our kangaroo. So let's draw, maybe we'll have a kangaroo hopping away. So again, we'll start with a circle for our face. And we'll do a quick body. Now, kangaroos have very powerful leg muscles. So we're just going to draw that, and they have very big feet. So we'll just draw him hopping away with his tail. Again, guys, I always recommend looking up references and seeing some photos, because at the moment my kangaroo looks a little bit more like a velociraptor, but that is okay. There we go. He's jumping hurriedly away. And Just put some trees in the distance. Maybe there's other lakes as well. And just have some fun, guys, and flesh out your world a little bit and come up with some other ideas and think about all the different things you can add that's going to help tell the story of this creature and where it lives, and all of those sorts of things, all the different things that you can add. But we might leave it there. I really like this creature, guys. He looks really good. So have a go, see what you can come up with, and I'm very excited to see your designs.